Welcome back, everyone. I thought I'd do just a brief video today. I'm going to talk about a couple different things that are going on in the world, but I wanted to I had some general things that I thought would be important to talk about, and these kind of center around just emotional health, mental health, and just physical stuff too in the body. And the reason I want to bring this up is because I think it's so important in the time that we are in. I recently ran into somebody from my past from a long time ago, and it was a good reminder to me of how happiness is so important, and it is, in my opinion, one of probably the most important things that any of us can have. And it supersedes health, it supersedes wealth, it supersedes a lot of things. And I don't know if they'll ever see this video, but if they do, this might be a little helpful. So, but anyway, just in general, this is super important. But I had recently seen them, and they were really angry, and had been many years really since, we had, I don't know, kind of hung out, I guess. But it was clear to me that this person was still really angry about stuff. And, we had a lot of good experiences, and we had some not so great ones. But ultimately, I think it's so important for each and every one of us to do the best we can to heal ourselves. And some people seem to have a real challenging time with that, right? And I want to bring this up because it was astounding to me, the things I noticed that, I felt sorry for this person. I did. And, it's just genuinely sorry for this person that they hadn't been able to get to a better place, because we all should be able to. And when we encounter tough times in life, we get angry at people or things in our life, that sometimes those wounds, they take a while to heal. And it's not always easy, but we have to do the best we can. And if we don't, it can have a major impact on our life moving forward. So I think it's important that we all spend time doing that. In this world right now, there are a lot of people and things to be pissed off about. A lot of things. A lot of us, we're feeling sad about the loss of our country, loss of, a lot of different things in the world that we see around us. And I think forgiveness is so important for all of us. And it's easy to say, and it's a lot easier to say when you've had some time pass between an event that occurs and, the present moment. It's a lot easier to say forgive someone or for something or whatever, that happened, say, 30 years ago than it is 3 days ago or 3 weeks ago. But, we need to do our part internally to let that kind of healing happen. And it takes something different for each of us to be able to make that happen. So it's so important. I've talked about this before, that if you are not in a good mental state, like, your state of mind has an incredible impact, positive or negative, on your physical health. I remember years ago, well, first of all, before I talk about this, so I've mentioned this before, there was a Japanese business guy by the name of Dr. Emoto, or his last name was Emoto. He studied water. And he found that water, when you sent it loving, positive messages, it formed beautiful crystalline structures. And the stuff that, you sent bad mojo, bad vibes, negative thoughts towards it, it had crystallized forms that weren't that good. And our bodies are something like 70% water. And so it's really important that we have a good self-image. It's important that we all, if we feel, somebody else has negative mojo for us, just to not let that affect us directly, and to be able to kind of cast that off and just ignore it, just transmute it, as it were, change it, and just not let it sit there and kind of simmer inside of you. So it's really important. And when you have like fear, anger, hatred, sadness, depression, the whole range of emotions that aren't that great, those things can manifest in your body. And your body can actually store, like in your muscles, for example, in your muscles and in your organs and stuff too, but like in your muscles, you can store a lot of negative mojo in there. I remember years ago, I was going through a really challenging period in my life, and I went out, I searched for shiatsu massage, and the woman who gave me the massage, I went to her for years, and she was phenomenal. She would do shiatsu massage and Reiki, and that really helped me get through, a lot of the stuff I was going through. But I held a lot of pain, a lot of hurt in my muscles, right? And with the massages that she would do and the energy work she would do, I was able to, release those things. But fairly recently, one of the things that I had years ago when she was helping me is there was like a lot of sore tenderness in my left arm in some of the muscles. And I wondered why that was. And, she informed me, well, that's, where your heart meridian is. And we all have this, it's just part of our, muscular skeletal system. It's probably a little bit off, but it's part of that. And so I had some of that stuff that I had to work on. And, recently when I had an encounter with this person, and, I've forgiven them because they did things that weren't the greatest and that had a pretty big negative impact on me in a lot of different ways in life. And it wasn't good, but I've forgiven them for a long time now. I've forgiven them for the things that they did. But I noticed that, I saw this person fairly recently, and, afterwards, even just the same day, I noticed some of the soreness in my arm, and I was like, man, I haven't felt this in a long time. And for me, it was just sort of like, I think like a final release of some of the stuff that I guess I had stored up for a long time. And I'm saying this, and I know this is going on a little bit about this, but it's so important because we don't realize how much of our consciousness, like our thoughts, our emotions, get stored up in our body, and that can have a tremendous negative impact if we let it. And that's why, I get pissed off. Like I've said, you have to be human is to experience all the emotions, not just happiness and all that stuff. But, a lot of people think when they get like spiritually enlightened or whatever, that they're not going to get pissed off or angry. And I think that's really misguided. We were given by the Creator, by the universe, by Source, like this incredible set of emotions that we have at our disposal. And I don't think that it's healthy for us to, just kind of not use some, or try not to use some, or try not to process some. We need to be able to process that stuff. So when you feel hopeless, you feel a lot of sadness, despair, fear, anger, whatever it might be, process that, take care of it, and don't let your subconscious shove it down underneath the hood, right? Because it's going to affect you. It's going to you might not think about it consciously moving forward, but your subconscious mind took that information and it basically stored it. It stored it down deep there in your brain, and it probably stored it, in your muscles, in your organs, in your physical body. And so it's much better, I think, to process things quickly and just realize that, okay, now that you felt that, what do? How do you move on? How do you get over it? How do you make, a not so good situation better? And I think that's where, a ton of healing too can come from forgiveness. And sometimes that is really hard to do. And, frame this in the perspective of a lot of the bad actors out there right now in the world. It could be bad police or bad RoboCops, like the folks in Australia with their batons and their shields and just beating people and arresting them, very Gestapo-like. Please keep, as I mentioned before, the people of Australia in your thoughts and prayers. They have it pretty tough in some areas like Melbourne. And we can see this come in other areas of the world. I don't want it to come. None of us do. I still continue to hold up great hope for mankind. A lot of people continue to protest. I bookmark stuff like on Twitter when I find protest footage, people protesting against masks and stuff. And there's been a lot going on, in the past week or so, a lot, which is really, really good. A lot of people are standing up, and a lot of people are standing together, like the jabbed and the unjabbed, together and saying, we're against passports. We are against mandates. We are against lockdowns. We are against, the governments of the world forcing medical choices on people. And so this is really good. This gives me a lot of hope. And, I saw that, I think it's a premiere, maybe it's not the premiere. I think it was the premiere maybe of Australia stepped down because she was involved in some kind of scandal, which is good. You got a lot of crazy politicians down there that need to go. Let's hope whoever comes in is a lot better for the people than she was. But a lot of things are happening. I look around at the world and I go, okay, it looks like, in many ways, it looks like a complete and total shitstorm. But I continue to hold out hope, and I see really good things happening. Like today, we have a big outage, like with Facebook, Instagram, I think, WhatsApp, and so this kind of stuff. It's like, all these companies, these social media companies. Part of me doesn't want them to come back. And if they do, I want them to be like taken over by the good guys, right? Taken over by the white hats, as some people say, because they've just been misused for so long and just used as leverage against the good people of the world to keep people entranced by social media and to keep people believing in false narratives. And so there's a part of me when I see that kind of stuff, I'm like, all right, this is good that they're down. Now, let's either keep them down or let's make them better for the people when they come back up. So good things like this happening. There's a lot of good things. If you watch a number of like spiritual channels or channelers or tarot card readers or anybody, who kind of gives out prophetic updates about stuff, there's a lot of good stuff, I think, coming around the corner. No matter what is going on in the world, I continue to believe in a higher power, in a bigger vision, in sort of divine guidance for not only us as individuals, but us as a collective, one humanity together. And I believe that we can achieve greatness. I look around at the world that I find myself in, and the more I've learned over the years, like this world is the way that we have allowed it to evolve is a complete and utter shit show. I mean, everything, just corruption and evil and bad stuff is basically in every aspect of our lives, and we don't even think about it on a regular basis, but it is pretty bad. So, when you get to the point where you kind of see the world for what it is, or at least you have a good bead on what it is, because I know that I don't know more than 1% of what it is that's out there. But when you grasp that, you look around at the world and you see everything in government, education, finance, economy, and our food system, our medical system, basically everything has been corrupted and is full, our food, water, probably our vitamins and supplements have been corrupted with chemicals, pollution, and a whole bunch of nasty stuff that I believe have been intentionally put in there along the way, from people that are really powerful and that know that there's a ton of money to be made from all of us everyday people And if they can, just do the right stuff, then we'll just like always do what we're told, and we'll always be part of and hooked into the pharmaceutical, medical, industrial complex, which is not good. Just had a friend pass away from terminal cancer just yesterday, actually. She had been struggling with chemotherapy, and she'd been doing chemotherapy for a couple of years. She had a really rare type of cancer. Thankfully, she passed fairly easily. It wasn't a long, drawn-out process like it can be, which is horrible when that stuff happens, but it was a relatively short period of time where, I guess her final descent, when that happened. But, I always think, like, I get very angry when I look at the world around me and I go, why are natural things outlawed or not talked about, not accepted, not investigated by the mainstream medical system? I get mad when I look at the poisons and carcinogens that are present in pretty much everything from makeup to hairspray to lipstick to food, water, soda, anything. And it makes me really angry, and it's nearly impossible for any of us to escape that. It's like nearly impossible to do that, and it makes me really angry when I see things like that. But like I said, I still continue to hold out hope. We have an enormous opportunity ahead. We are nothing more. This whole world is nothing more than pure energy, pure consciousness. So why we are still in a position where we have this world is pretty messed up. It is. And for whatever reason, we're going through what we have to go through right now. And I think in many ways it could get a lot worse, a lot darker for all of us. But again, things could change pretty quickly on a dime if the right things come into play, especially divine intervention, angelic intervention, things like that very quickly. And I continue every day to pray, meditate, and visualize those things coming to fruition, because we certainly need that. But I just wanted to talk about that and circle back around to what I said earlier, just about emotional health and physical health too. I mean, it's, you can take all the vitamins and supplements that you want. You can eat organic food, unprocessed stuff as much as you want. But if you're angry at somebody for a long period of time, and you hold that anger and that resentment in your body, in your mind, in your thoughts, it's going to eat away at you. And then nothing else that you achieve in life, or that you accomplish, or that you have that would otherwise be good, is really going to matter. I mean, if you had $1 billion, by default, somebody who heard that might say that, you must be pretty happy. But if you had $1 billion and you were just angry all the time, and you were, you held things against people that you shouldn't have, or that you shouldn't any longer, then you're miserable. And it doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter how big your house is. It doesn't matter all the things that you can do and buy with money if you hold negativity inside of you. So anyway, I don't know that the person that I knew from the past will ever see this video, but hopefully somebody out there, one of you, will find this useful in some way. It's super important to process your emotions, not let them, I guess, get stored underneath the hood in your body. And you don't want that kind of stuff to kind of grow inside. And you need to be able to forgive. Forgiveness is very challenging to do sometimes, but you have to be able to do it. And when you are able to do it, you will find that you have an incredible release of emotions. You will have a release of probably a lot of physical ailments that you'll feel when you do that. It's so good. Forgiveness is so good. And remember that too with all the bad actors of today that are out there right now that, we see who they are. Remember that it is not up to each and every one of us as individuals to make the final judgment on a situation or a given individual. That's kind of a bigger scope that's out of our individual hands. And so you have to realize that you have to do the best you can to forgive those people, even though you might not like what they do and you might disagree vehemently with them. You have to be able to forgive them and obviously take action. You don't want to be around toxic people, and you don't want to submit to their messed up agendas and demands. And so you need to remove yourself. Some people, they will always be negative. Some people will always be in a bad place. Some people will always feel a need to attack others or restrict others or hurt somebody in some way. And sometimes people, when I don't know what causes this. I've got somebody in my family. I mean, man, I always used to think when I was growing up that I had sort of like the Leave It to Beaver family, and it was not the case. When I grew up, I'm like, oh man, there's a lot of stuff going on in my family. But I've got like aunts and uncles that won't talk to each other for decades. And I look at it and I go, oh man, like, I've heard of some of the stuff that's happened between them, and I look at it and I go, it's not worth it. It would not be worth it to me to let something like that cut off communication, to destroy relationships, to really negatively impact people. And I've seen that. I've seen relatives who, like, they just hold this grudge that they can't get rid of, and it's not good. It's not healthy. And I think, are they going to really regret it when they're on their deathbed thinking about the people in their past? Probably. That's one of the things that I think is so important. I use death as a framework, or the idea of death and the picture of me being on my last breaths, to kind of frame my bigger choices in life. I always ask myself, like, if I were 80 or 90 and I was on my last days, if I were to look back at my life, would I wish that I had done something different? Would I wish that I had started a relationship or ended a relationship or started a business or said something different to somebody or done something different? You got to think about things like that, because sometimes you don't have the time to tell people, for example, how much they mean to you and how much they meant to you. Like, people from my past, for example, might feel like, from, relationships that maybe didn't work out, right? I mean, it's not like people, usually meet somebody and they're in a relationship with them forever. There are some people like that, and I have incredible respect for that. It takes a lot of work. But, oftentimes, most of us, we have relationships that don't work out for a lot of different reasons. And sometimes, we screw up, sometimes they screw up, sometimes we mutually screw up. That's oftentimes what happens. But you have to be able to, let stuff go. And you have to be able to forgive each other and forgive yourself. Like, I fucked up on a lot of things in my life. And when I look back at those things, it's like, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I said or did that thing. And that's really hard to process when you look at that. And there have been some things in my life where I'm like, oh my God, and the more often, I have gone back and looked at those things, they've gotten easier to process. And and then I can get to the point usually where I just kind of accept the fact that I did something or didn't do something and said, well, it was fucked up, but I did the best I could given the knowledge that I had at the time and given my emotional state, which could have been improved in a lot of situations. So you have to be able to forgive yourself for shortcomings. We all have shortcomings. We have plenty of shortcomings. You have to be able to forgive yourself, just the way you forgive others, right? And when you realize that, like, if you look at yourself and we each and every one of us, I mean, it's probably a rare individual who doesn't have regrets about something they've done or said or not done or not said in their life. But you look back at the regrets, the things that you just kind of make you internally groan and go, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. And I feel so sorry about XYZ. Realize that, somebody that you might be angry at, or somebody that you aren't happy with because they did or didn't do something, realize that they've got their own stuff. They might feel horrible about a given situation and wish they could have done something different. And they're if they haven't gone through that realization and that process, that work, they will at some point. And they're just like you. They're just like me, right? So we all have our stuff. We're not perfect. And we just need to be able to forgive others just like we would want them to forgive us for stupid stuff. It's a real important thing. So important because, like I said, I mean, that stuff, it's not only emotional, mental stuff, but it gets shoved down into your body. I mean, you're 70% water. And your emotions, your thoughts, they have an incredible impact on water that's surrounding all of your cells and in your cells. Like, do you want to be a beautiful human being that is reaching your full potential, or do you want to be an ugly human being? And not in terms of how you look at yourself in the mirror, but inside that internal crystalline structure. You need to have good, positive thoughts about yourself. And I got to tell you, when you forgive somebody, that's pretty powerful. And people that I've people that I know that I've caused harm or pain in the past, and a lot of things, they weren't intentional. I didn't intentionally try to do it, but when I look back, with hindsight, which is always 20/20, I look at things and I go, I could have done things better, in a way that was better for everyone involved. I forgot what I was going to say with that. Anyway, yeah. Oh, what was I talking about? I was talking about forgiveness. It feels good. Okay, so here's what I found. What I've done, what I found to be incredibly powerful for myself is that, for the big, important people from my past, and I view all the people from my past as important, and that they all mean a lot to me because they taught me a lot of good things, right? And some things weren't so easy to learn, but I'm appreciative of every single person in my life, every single one. And the longer I'm with somebody, or the longer that I know somebody, the more important those people are to me. Even if I don't have relationships with them, close relationships at least with them anymore. But what I'll do is part of my healing process that I've done in the past, I just, I will just have conversations with them in my head, right? We're all jacked into this universal consciousness layer that we're all connected to. It's almost like a pathway for almost telepathy. Telekinesis is something different. Telepathy, almost, in a way. That we put the vibes out there, and we can have a conversation in our heads, with somebody from our past that we would like to make amends with. And I found that is incredibly, incredibly powerful. That just can, if you do that kind of stuff and you are genuine and heartfelt, you will feel it and you will understand what I'm talking about. And undoubtedly, some of you have already done this. It's an incredible release of emotions. And so if you've got issues with people in your life from the past, you might want to try that. You might want to try to picture them and you in the past. Try to look at that scene from their point of view. How did it affect them? What were they thinking? What did they do? If they did something to harm you, maybe what were they thinking? What was their situation? And how did maybe if you did something that wasn't so great, how did they feel? How did it make them feel right away, and the next day, and the next week, and so on? It gives you, I think, a good perspective, the best that you can when you do that. So think about doing that. It's an incredible part of healing. We are social creatures, and the connections that we have with other people are really super important. And when we have things go wrong with our relationships, that can cause a lot of pain and a lot of hurt. I believe that we're all connected here. We're all here for a reason, and that we have all lived multiple lifetimes, that we've all come to this earth plane for different reasons at different times, and with our crews of people, right? Different people that we decided that we would meet up with at certain points in time to accomplish something. And we don't always, as a human, remember that. We don't always, as a human, understand that. But I believe that we all have a beautiful gift to give each other if we just, think about it and look at the people in your life. Let's say you've been really harmed by somebody. And if you're able to, for a moment, for a period of time, just take a step back and realize the good things that person showed you in your life, or the good things that came into your life because of what you went through, that you went through a traumatic or a negative or bad experience. A lot of good things came out of that, and if they haven't come out of it yet, start working on that, because a lot of really good things can. You have to look at everything as like a gift, everything as a blessing, everything as a lesson, because this life here on earth is really one giant ass lesson for all of us. So anyway, I've talked a lot about that kind of stuff, emotional health, just processing that stuff, just forgiveness is so important. And we need this today in the world more than ever, folks. We've become so divided on so many different lines, and the governments of the world have wanted to do this. They've been a part of this. So is the social media, so is mainstream media, so is, I guess, the big corporate arena, the pharmaceutical, medical, industrial complex, the war machine that's out there. They've, I think, intentionally done this. It's easy to control people. It's easy to enslave people. It's easy to cause a lot of damage, and when you cause damage and you scare people, you make them fearful, angry, whatever, it's easy to control people. And we need to understand that and have our eyes open to the power of emotions, because people have gotten trapped. I've gotten trapped in the past. Like when Cerveza came out, I was really fucking worried. And then just after, like, I don't know, 3 or 4 months, I was like, all right, this is not adding up. But I don't know. Anyway, that's it for today. I think I'm just gonna wrap it up. I just wanted to talk about that stuff. I'll do more videos in the coming days and weeks, and I'll talk about things that are happening in regards to current events. But I thought just some words today about emotions, healing, forgiveness, all that kind of stuff is really good. It's so important. I don't have anybody in my life at this point that that I hold a grudge against, I guess. That I don't have anybody that I hate at all. And some, in the past I did, and it took a lot of work, to process that and relieve that and get over it. But it's worth it, folks. If you haven't done that journey, you should. It's really, it's an incredibly healing process. So anyway, until I see you guys next time, hope you guys are doing well out there. I know it's tough for a lot of you. Keep your spirits up. There's a lot of crap going down all over the world. We will get through it. We always do. Just your mental health and your happiness is so important. Just as I've said before, every day do something you love. Do something you love. Do something you enjoy. And every day say a kind word to someone. Tell somebody who you love and who you care about, no matter who that is, what it is that they mean to you, you know? Anyway, that's it for today. You guys take care. Till I see you next time. Good luck. God bless. Godspeed.